So hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to byte 15 of the Python crime game. This time we're not going to create a notepad as I said on byte 14, we're actually going to allow the user to query the database dynamically. The reason for that is it makes more sense on the flow. So first query the database and then add the nodes. It would be weird to do it the other way around. So yeah, let me show you first what we will do and then we'll do it. If you remember the notebook or the Jupyter notebook, it will be available on Google Drive. Okay, so you go there and pick it up. So this is what we have. Run the code. Do you accept the challenge? Yes. What is your name? Ruth. And it plots, all that stuff. And this is the part that we're going to create now. So it is going to have a text that says, now that you've been properly introduced, we've given you access to the database. And then here, which table would you like to see? This we've done on byte 4 or 5, something like that. There's a few changes though. So when I type 0, it's going to give me the list of the tables. We've done this before, but it's also going to print the database schema. This database schema I did with Matplotlib. It's an amazingly fun build, but it's a bit complex perhaps for Python beginners. So maybe I do it as a bonus later on. I will definitely share the build if you want to do it, and if you want an explanation I can do that too, but for now this is an image rendered from the Matplotlib plot. So it's going to do that. It's going to plot the schema, and then it will ask again, like, what would you like to do? So now I'm going to query the crime scene report table, and when you say that, it will give you the table information, so the columns that are available and types, and then some sample data so you can see what's in there. And then it will go and ask you, what would you like to do now that you've seen the contents of crime reports in? And then the user can either query the data or search all the tables. That means go back to this loop or quit the game. It's like, I don't want to do it anymore. If it asks to query the table, so what it's going to do is going to loop through all the column names, right? And then they can write anything that they want. They don't need to write the exact answer, so they can have like partial matches search. Is super cool. Press enter and then it will search for city that has name SQL. We need to format this a little bit better, I know, but for now we need to live with it. And here they will find the information about the murder. And then now that we have information, they can, for example, go to query another table, which will be the person's table, and then you'll say, I want to query by name because the name was Annabelle. It said there, Annabelle. So I'm going to search by Annabelle, and then it will continue, blah, blah, blah. It gives information about Annabelle, we get the ID, blah, blah, blah. So now they can start playing, right? So with these, they could actually play the entire game. They don't need the notes. So the notebook is useful to keep notes so you know what you have to search on all the queries, but we will do that on byte 16. So this is what we're going to do, right? And now that we're happy, we quit the investigation, and then let's code this. Okay, so first of all, we need to connect to the database. We've done this 1,000,001 times, so we are going to first import the database module to be able to connect to it. We're going to use pandas to query the data oils. So we're going to get database info. This will connect to the database, and this will give us the table names. So this, as you see, give us all the table names. Beautiful. Now, we are going to query one of the tables. We're going to actually start with crime scene report just to show you how it is done, and then we will do it generic for all tables. But I always like to start with one just to make sure that it works. It's a lot easier. So if you remember, the get data just query this table and gives us the table information and stores it in a data frame. We've done this many, many times. You can see here, this is the data frame for the crime scene report. This is the data available there. Cool. Now, if you remember in the game here, it asks you about the column names. So we need to create that part of the code. So you could hard code it, obviously. You could have like one for crime scene, one for, but I don't want to do it. I wanted to generate. So there is actually a way in pandas to get all the column names of a table. So we're going to call the variable column names, and it's going to be df columns. Let me show you what this does. You see what it does? It goes to the table and it gets date, type, description, city. If I will change the table name here for another table, it will do exactly the same. So now we have a way to dynamically generate the column names of whatever table the user picked. Really cool. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do, this is so cool. It was so much fun to do, I can't tell you. So we're going to create a list, column input, an empty list, right? That we are going to fill in a for loop. So this is how it's going to work. So we say for column in column names. Column names is the list of the columns names available, or the headers available on the table. So for each column header, we want to column input, so the variable or the list that is available up there, append, and then we're going to put, let's start like this first, so you actually see what's going on. And then I'm going to here, well, we can do actually print column first, so you can see it. So print column, you see that is iterated through the column names available on the table. So date, type, description, and blah, blah, blah. If I now go here and I look into the contents of column input, as you can see, what it does is it goes through date, type, description, and it puts it in a list, the empty list that we created here. So neat. But that's not really what we need. What we need is to have this as an input. And then we're going to have f enter. This is like the Python 3 way to format strings. I like it sometimes I don't. Haven't made my mind yet. So what we're doing here is saying ask the user to enter a value for a column name, for date, for type, for description, and store it in column input. If I run this, it says enter date 218 or 115. Enter a type, I don't care. Enter a description, I don't care. And here SQL, for example. And now if I run column input, you see that it's storing the values that I entered. That's exactly what we wanted. So if we don't put anything, it will return an empty list. Okay, so wherever is asking the dynamically the user to enter a value on all the columns available on the table, and then it stores it on a variable called column input. So we have the first part of this, which is this one, like asking the user to enter their search query parameters, basically. Now, the next one is to generate the SQL query. So to generate SQL queries, we've done it before. You do the select from, this is the table name, and then you put where column name. And here's the thing, because we're not having an exact match, we're going to have only a partial match, we're going to put like, right? And when you put like, you need to put percentage on each of the column input values. So you do like percentage, SQL percentage, to say it's not supposed to be equal, but it contains SQL, okay? And then we have here the values that the user input that will be passed as arguments in here. So theoretically, how does it work in practice? So we're going to have two lists, SQL where, that is, we're going to create the where clause, this one up here, right? And then we're going to create another list for the input parameters that the user enters. We're going to call it args. It's going to be an empty list too. And now we're going to do for whatever the user enters, and the column values in, you remember the shape that it takes two lists and goes one by one and queries that? That's exactly what we need. So we're going to, what the user input enters is stored here in column input. And the column names are stored on column names here. Put it there. So what this does, just let's look at it. That's the wonderful thing about Python. You can see stuff. So we don't have any column input because this was empty. But if we had anything, it will say, let me put something in there. So you can see, done, SQL. And then we're going to use SQL in there. And then we're going to go in here. This should be there. And you see when it has SQL that it prints it there. The other ones are empty, so it doesn't say anything. So now we have both the arguments and the column names in one go. And we're going to generate. So if user is true, meaning it's not empty, then we're going to do SQL, the same thing that we did before, where, and then append, because we want to append the values. And the append the values is going to be column plus, it has to be like. Now, you're going to go on internet and you're going to see that there are different ways to do SQL queries. What I've learned is that depending on how you write the query, some user, instead of putting SQL CT as a CT, could put drop database, and it could kill your database. So by having the question mark there, apparently it prevents them for the SQL injection to be able to put malicious code into your database. So that's why I'm putting it like this. If you see other ways that it looks easier, you probably are having problems with SQL injection, okay? So this will generate this one, the date like, type like, city like, okay? And then we have args dot append, and then here we're going to put the user entered information, which is going to be the percentage, and then we're going to put plus user plus percentage. See there? Cool. Now, what happens if the user does not enter anything? Well, your query will break. So we need to account for that. So that's this line. If not SQL, where, that means if this list is empty, then you're going to do SQL where, you're going to put something, otherwise the query will break and you will get an error. And what you're going to put is 1 equals 1, right? And now we can print SQL query to see. Print SQL query and print args. SQL where. And now you can see that we have our, this is, in case it's empty, and this is city like. You can see that is wrong because we need to have city like with a space. You can see it there, date like, city like. And then where else? Looks good, the other ones. I don't think we need to have any space, anything. No, so this should be fine. Okay, so how do we construct the query? So to construct the query now, this is the way to do it. Let me show you. So you do f-select, we have here, from table name, because the table name we're going to feed it dynamically, where, and then we need to join the SQL with and. So this should be city like and, blah, 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 date and, description and. So we run it, and we print it to see. And you see, select from crime scene where this won't do anything, and then and city like. So if I add something in here, so let's say that we add a date, 15, murder, description, I don't care, and then continue. Here I have the 3 variables, put it there, you see type like, city like, and then these are the values. And then here we have everything. So dynamically creates the query for us. The thing is that you cannot leave it blank. So what I did first, it was like, okay, I am not going to build it dynamically. I will say like nothing. But obviously, SQL interprets nothing like nothing. So it will say SQL. So if SQL is equal empty, it will try to find empty. And that's not what we want. That's why you need to query it dynamically. Okay, so now we have created this statement. Now we need to execute the query. So the first thing that we need to do is to use the connection to the database. I don't think I need it because I've already have it up there, but yeah, let's remove it and see what happens. And then we have the SQL query that is executed here and the arguments, which is whatever inputs the user had. And yeah, no, I need it. Okay, cool. I think I remember I made some changes on the database action where I took out the cursor and connection because they are used everywhere. So they should be able to use it here. Well, I'm not. Database action, where? Okay, anyhow. So we go in here, we execute it, and now we want to see the results, right? Because we're actually going to show the results. So this is how you do and transform it into a data frame for then doing some stuff with pandas. So you do pd data frame from records, and this is to fetch all the rows available. So in this case, with the query that we did, we get just exactly that part of the query. How neat is it? Well, okay, so the last thing that we have now left to do is Control B brings up the folder stuff, is the database schema. Here's the thing, you are going to get into the bundle of files and folders for byte 15 on assets. You're going to get 2 images. One is the database key image in case you want to reproduce it yourself. The other one is the schema, the image of the schema. But you're also going to get my matplotlib build for the database schema in case you want to give it a go. It was a lot of fun. I would say that it's a little bit complicated, so if you don't understand it, don't worry. It's just, I've done a lot of matplotlib, so. But if you want to give it a go, it's a lot of fun to build. So to do the database schema, here's the thing. I'm going to put the database schema on the plot actions module here. But for now, because we're building this in a notebook, Jupyter Notebook, we need to import both the pill image, and so this will allow to open the image in Jupyter Notes, and this will display with matplotlib. Okay, so we need both of these. But matplotlib is already here in plot action, so the only one that you need to add is the pill one. And then the way you do this is first you connect to the image. So you use pill to, you see image to open the image, and then you just, this is actually super simple, you just use the matplotlib functionality to display it. So you open a plot, a figure, and then you just show the image, you get rid of the axis, and then you show and then you close. Like, that's it. And here you have it. There are other ways you can show it just with build, but because I'm using Trinket to show how the game goes, I have to use Matplotlib to display it, but that's fine. We now know how to display images with Matplotlib. So cool. This is the key that I was talking about, right? Okay, so your assignment is, now that you know how to build the dynamic queries, you need to put the game together so it does this. So continue in the loop. Just to give you some pointers, I created a new module and I called it, what did I call it? I call it, it's the second, main loop, main_loop.py. And in there, I put the get help menu here, and I continue building on this. And then on the main.py, I just called in the function, just in case you want to build it the same way. And again, the database schema, I put it on the plot actions module. Okay, so your job is to finish byte 15 so it does what this does. So good luck, and I will see you on the solution video, and then we will build a notebook. Okay.